Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It is officially March 1st when I am filming this, and can I just say February just flew by. I almost didn't film today. I'm having a bit of a rough day and I really wasn't in the mood to film anything, but I figured I could either lay in bed moping and not feeling so swell, or I could film and talk about books and potentially cheer myself up. So here we are. With the new month, as we all know, comes the wrap-ups. So today I am doing my February wrap-up. If you didn't watch my January wrap-up, I am not actually going to tell you about all of the books that I read in a specific month. I am only going to highlight a few of those that really stuck out in my mind. In the month of February, I read 12 books, which I would say is a bit higher than average for me. I don't think I usually go through books that quickly. I will say 2023 as of right now has been dominated by mysteries and thrillers. I would say probably 80% of the books I have read have been mysteries and thrillers. However, out of those 12 books, I'm only going to be talking about 3, technically only 2 because 2 of them are part of the same series. So even though I am reading a lot, there aren't that many books that are sticking out in my mind or really memorable enough for me to want to mention them. The 3 books that I want to talk about today are actually books that I gave 3 stars. However, the reason that I wanted to mention them, one, because it was an anticipated read and it was not what I was expecting, and 2, even though I gave both of these books 3 stars, I realized that they are varying degrees of 3 stars. Like, one is a positive, one is a negative, which I thought was interesting, so I thought I would discuss it with you. So the first 2 books, but I'm counting as just one, that I read was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, and this is actually a series originally written in Japanese and then translated into English. And funnily enough, I actually read books 1 and 3. I placed a hold for the 2nd and 3rd book, and when 1 came through, I didn't realize it was book 3 instead of book 2. I'll say I think these can stand alone, at least between books 1 and 3. There was a really big time jump, but I didn't feel like a really big disconnect or completely confused. I feel like they did a good job in book 3 of kind of recapping, I'm assuming, what happens in book 2. This series is also more of a series of vignettes, so we do have a set of common characters throughout the books. Essentially, they are just a series of vignettes. So Before the Coffee Gets Cold essentially is about a cafe that urban legend says allows you to time travel. A lot of different people have traveled to the cafe in hopes of time traveling, but once they get there, they find out that while yes, you can time travel, there are a lot of specific rules / requirements that need to happen in order to do so. So a lot of people who get to the cafe think, oh, this is just a hoax. You're making up all of these rules so that you have an excuse to not allow me to time travel, or they don't fit into the requirements, or they think the rules are too much and don't even think it's worth time traveling. Some of the rules that kind of discourage people is that there's only one specific seat in this cafe that actually allows you to do the time traveling, and most of the day it is occupied by a ghost who only gets up, I think it's once a day, to go to the restroom, and that is that very short window of opportunity that you have to time travel. You can only go back to see someone who has been in the cafe before, because another of the rules is that you cannot leave that seat. Once you do your time traveling, you can't get up and leave the cafe. You have to stay in that seat. You have a limited time actually in the past. You have to be poured this cup of coffee by a special person, and you have to drink that cup of coffee before it gets cold. That's kind of where the title comes from. And finally, you cannot change the past. No matter what happens during your time travel, it will not change what happens in the future. So obviously a lot of people are kind of bummed out by that. A lot of the people who do go to the cafe go there in hopes of being able to change some mistake or something that happened, only to find out it doesn't matter what you do, how much you protest, how much you scream, whatever you say, it's not going to change what is already in your present. The vignettes kind of deal with the people's expectations of what they think is going to happen once they time travel. And this is actually, I wouldn't say it's a super emotional book, but it definitely gets you thinking. Sometimes you think this event has completely changed your life, and when they travel back, they come back to their present with such a different mindset, having seen things from a different point of view. So even though, yes, you can't change the events of your present, you can change the way that you think and the way that you're tackling the things that might be tormenting you in the present. So I really enjoyed this book, and book 3 is again kind of the same pattern about the time traveling, realizing you can't change anything in the past, but it kind of does change you as a person, I guess. So I gave this book a 3 stars. It wasn't a complete 4 just because, again, in the moment as I was reading, it definitely had me thinking about my life and how I'm viewing things now, that I think, wow, I really wish I could go back and change that, but it's leading me to this path of where I need to be. But once I finished the book, I kind of wasn't thinking about it anymore, so that's why it's a 3 stars, but it's a positive 3 stars. It's truly not super deep, at least book 1 isn't that deep, but it's still a thought-provoking book, so I gave it a 3 stars, but I would highly recommend it. I think it's a great little vignette, and it goes by really fast. Like it's not that long of a book. And then the second book that I want to mention is Ghost 19 by Simon St. James, which I also gave a 3 stars, but not so positive as with Before the Coffee Gets Cold. So if you saw my anticipated reads of 2023 video, you will know this was on there, and I was very excited. Simon St. James writes paranormal mysteries. She also does really well at double narrative POV, but one's in the present and one's in the past. I usually don't like that, but with Simon St. James, a masterpiece. Ghost 19. I did not realize it was going to be a short story. I think this was 80 some pages. It was very short. Because of that, I think the ending was a little rushed. I still think it was a good ghost story. I was still into it. I was just a little underwhelmed because it's not the type of, not production, but you know, it's not this kind of story that I'm used to reading from this author. And also I think it was just that I hyped it up so much in my head, completely having missed the fact that it was a short story. So I was expecting a full-length novel. So I don't think it's the author's fault whatsoever. Like I said, I still think they did a fantastic job with the 80 some pages that they had. So that's the reason why I gave it a 3 stars, because it wasn't the production that I was expecting. So those are the 3 books that I wanted to mention for the month of February. I just thought it was interesting that I gave both of these books 3 stars, but there are different reasons behind the 3 stars. It made me want to get back into the habit of doing written reviews again, because I would say in the last 2 years I got kind of lazy, to be honest. And again, it kind of comes back to my issue about summarizing my thoughts, summarizing a synopsis of a book. I'm not very good at it. I'm not very eloquent or cohesive with my thoughts, as you can tell. Anything about having to describe the book really stresses me out. So I stopped doing that and just started relying on the star rating, which is great. But then when I got to the end of the year, I would be kind of stumped because I do rate a lot of books 3 stars. Was this a positive 3 stars? Was that a negative 3 stars? I mean, 3 stars usually means good in my head, but as we could tell, it can mean a little differently. It might be a little bit more of a negative 3 stars. Also, these wrap-up videos are going to help me as well. So I am accomplishing what I am wanting to do. So I am happy with these wrap-ups. I hope you are enjoying them as well. Please give this video a thumbs up if you did. I would check out these books on Goodreads, look at the synopsis, look at what the reviews are saying, because I, as you all know, am not the expert at doing that. So if something sounds funky to you, just go on Goodreads or just give it a try. Both of these books went by really quickly. They're very short. And that's it for me. Leave me a comment down below if you're planning on reading any of these books or what was your favorite book in the month of February. My name is Elle, and I'll see you in next time's video.